This week's Strong Talk podcast is brought to you by Renaissance Periodization. Go to renaissanceperiodization.com, which proves that science is stronger. From their popular diet templates to training templates to ebooks, skip all the fad diets, all the misinformation out there. This is the diet I follow myself, Kalle Beck. I have my clients follow this. It just takes all the guesswork, and it's simple, easy to follow way. Go to renaissanceperiodization.com and follow them at RP Strength online. Today we have a special guest. Going to start bringing Strong Talk back a little by little as time permits. I'm of course Kalle Beck, and I'm joined by Paul Mauser, or is it Moser? Do I always get that wrong?
It is indeed Mauser. So yeah, you actually nailed it.
All right, so that's what I get for second guessing myself. You're throwing America Strongest Viking in just probably about a day from when you're listening to this. So what all goes into America Strongest Viking? We got a lot going on. We got Max block press trying to set some world records. We got some Arnold invites to the Arnold Amateur World Championships. What all you got going on this weekend?
Oh man, I am glad you asked. A lot going on with this competition. It is. It kind of feels like a culmination of 12 years of promoting, if I'm going to be honest about it. Like you said, it is a platinum plus level contest for Strongman Corporation, and what that means is, in the past, that could have meant some different things. But what that means now is Arnold invites for open classes, and top 3 in open classes get nationals invites as well. So your winners of each class, first place only in the open classes, go to the Arnold, and top 3 go to nationals. And on top of that, we have 2 events set up for big-time records, the max deadlift for national records, and also the block press, which will be for world records using that thing from that guy you might have heard of.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the loadable block you made. Just to get people up to speed on it, and it definitely makes it a lot easier to set and kind of push what the records are on stuff like this, because it's not a very common event. But making it more accessible, just like when you made steel loaded logs, the record for that used to be 300 and something pounds back in the Kaz days, when there was just a guy or two that had one that was hewn out of the forest. But making loadable implements that you can micro load with different plates like you have with your loadable block makes it a lot easier to track and then beat records and establish them and host them. So just let everyone know a little bit about that.
Well, normally I'm the one that does all the ranting and raving about the Mauser block, but you did a heck of a job of it right there for me. I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's one of those events. I've always liked odd objects, whether it was for loading races and medleys or whether it was for pressing or whatever. I've always been a fan of odd objects in strongman. That may be a product of me getting into strongman in the mid-'90s. And if you watch any of the World's Strongest Man events from the mid-'90s, they all had all these crazy odd object lifts and medleys and stuff. Wanted to try to create a block that you could load up, and there were a lot of challenges with that. One of the main challenges was building something that could hold up to the abuse, because when you're loading something heavy, potentially dropping it from overhead, because obviously with a block, even more so than a log or a barbell, you need to be able to drop it from overhead because it doesn't have any handles, and if you start to lose control of it, you need to just be able to get out of the way, and you don't want to worry about your product that you just paid a bunch of money for, the sides blowing out of it when you drop it, So to be able to build it in a fashion that was indestructible, to build it in a fashion that had a bunch of features that had never been seen on another similar product before, Like Martinez likes to talk about the little feet. That was an innovation. That's one of the half a dozen or so innovations in the product that make it conducive to using in a contest environment. Which was a big goal of mine, was not just to make something to train with, but to make something that was convenient and usable in different contest environments. And that's why you're seeing it pop up at a lot of shows, not just my shows. You're seeing it, it just popped up in California at O'Haugen's show, and on the same day it was on the Atlantic coast at Iron Asylum on Virginia Beach being used. And then, of course, as a lot of folks listening to this know, it's also featured at Strongman Corporation Nationals this fall.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty jacked up about that, to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely getting around, and it looks like a cool implement. Yeah, the little feet are feet savers. I remember, I think it was 2008, there was a contest that had just some milled aluminum block or something, and if it starts standing upright, but if you mess up the trying to get it in your lap and it flips over on its side, unless you have really strong fingers, it's tough to reset that upright to be able to get a handle on it again. So
yeah, and so the little feet, you could even do this as a clean and press for reps if you wanted to, because you can actually get your fingers under it.
Yeah,
pick it back up. A
little safer too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you have that's going to be an event in all the amateur classes as well. Plus you have some pro or pro level lifters just coming for block pressing, trying to set or kind of establish records. What are some of the people and the lifts you're looking forward to seeing, or you expect broken this weekend on that?
Oh my Lord, man! I am so pumped for this. Anybody that knows me on a personal level knows that I am a fan of strongman, and that's not just of the pros. So some have even said I know a lot of the competitors' personal records better than they do, because I'm such a geek about this stuff.
Yeah.
So man, I could really talk your head off about who I'm excited to see lift and what I think they're capable of and whatnot. But I'll note, for the sake of time, I will narrow it down to a few. Let's jump right into the ladies' classes. Hannah the Destroyer Jennings, lightweight women. My opinion may be a little bit biased because she's a Mauser athlete. She's trains at Viking here in West Virginia. But I call them like I see them, Kale, and I have seen what she's doing on the block. And I think the ladies in that class, it's a very stacked class. Ladies 140 is a stacked class, but they're going to have a hard time wrestling that world record away from Hannah Jennings.
Well, I'd assume, just training at the kind of, where the implement originated, that she has more practice on the implements as well. Of course, skill helps, obviously, but, and the person who made it on hand to kind of help, and your brother as well. So that's definitely an advantage. And I'd assume you're right. Is there records established for the other weight classes other than heavyweight men and women with the implement?
Yeah. If you go to here's my cheap plug. You set me up nice for it. If you go to MauserPower.com. There is a tab for the Mauser block. So nice. all of the Mauser block records are under the Mauser block tab. There's a whole separate tab for West Virginia state records, for all the other events like your log and your deadlift and farmers walks and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But for the actual block records, those are under the Mauser block tab on MauserPower.com, and I have state records, national records, and world records set there. Now the world. I have a special place for the all-time world records, and Kale, this is something that I get questions about. Is what if somebody did a contest in Zimbabwe and they lifted a block, but it wasn't a Mauser block, but it was properly certified to be above the world record?
Mm-hmm.
I would add that. I would
Sure.
add that to the site as an all time world record, not just the Mauser block world record. You know what I mean?
So,
So
for example, when like Thor and Steve Schmidt hit that one out in that Highland Games last year.
right, which was like
It was like a pound or two more than the one Steve hit on the Mauser block, months earlier, right?
yeah, it was reportedly 1 pound over.
How convenient.
So yeah, and kudos to the guys out there for putting on that event. I'm a little hesitant to add that to the website just because I don't know what the verification process was for the weight on
Sure.
that, and wasn't able to get any information on that when I reached out. So that one isn't added to the site simply because I wasn't able to do any sort of checks and balances on that to see how it was verified, how they know what the weight was, and whatever. So that's unfortunate for that one. If anybody from I think that's New Hampshire or something. If anybody from that contest wants to get a hold of me and let me know what the verification process was for the weight on those implements and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be willing to discuss that and get it up on the site if it met I thought it met a professional criteria.
Understandable, but I assume that record will get broken this weekend anyways. So, in the men's heavyweight, you got Steve coming out again. I assume a very underrated strongman, Steve Schmidt. Very, very underrated.
I would agree. Steve Schmidt has been like 1 point away from a pro card on
half a dozen times.
Yeah, it might be even more than that, but two occasions that I'm aware of, and maybe more than that, where he's literally been, a whisker away from grabbing a pro card, and he was like 42, I think, 42, 43 at this point. And he's just a phenomenal strongman. He loves overhead pressing. That's probably his first love, and it really shows. He's done some spectacular things on the log. He just did a Viper at 400 on the log.
His pressing's pretty good.
Then, yeah, he Vipered the first rep and then pushed press the second rep and sat it down and walked away like it was nothing. So that's pretty extreme,
So he's going for block press. What's it around 340-ish? Is 330-ish? Where are we at with that one right now?
340 is his current world record. Mm-hmm. And if all goes well and Steve's feeling good, and honestly, even if he's not feeling good, I think he's going to destroy that record.
Yeah.
I hate to put any undue pressure on the guy, but again, I'm going to call it like I see it. I know what he's been doing in training. We stay in reasonably good contact, and I think that 340 is going to be a thing of the past.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've seen videos of him doing over 300 for reps, and doing a block for reps is definitely harder compared to other implements, repping them out. Because you have to balance it and bring it back down, which is almost harder than the press sometimes, I'd say.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so much control involved that it's an exhausting implement to try to pound out reps with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hitting a set of like 3 or 4 on a block press is probably equivalent to like banging out 10s on log or something. Just your forearms and everything else is definitely going to be smoked afterwards, and just hard to keep that balance and control. Anyone else you see kind of creeping up on that could push him a little bit this weekend? We don't want to discredit anyone else. I'd say he has the record. You got to beat the man to be the man. So anyone else that could you see kind of creeping up into that mid 300 range?
I'm glad you asked, because I do. There's a very, very large gentleman out of Maryland by the name of Andrew Presnell. And Andrew, he reminds me of Phil Pfister in that he has these very long arms, and he has some of the biggest hands I've ever encountered. The guy's a giant. He's about 6'5", in the neighborhood of probably 380, and he is not a fat guy at that weight. Okay, I mean,
Sure.
he's just a massive human being with a mastodonic bone structure. And last year, he actually hit a 320-pound block press at the show. However,
Okay.
people forget about that because Steve came out later and hit the 340.
Of course.
So, Andrew hit a solid 320 last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a year to get better. He's a young guy. He's constantly improving. He may challenge for that record.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's what you say. That's something to definitely keep your eye on too. I don't believe I've heard of the name, and I try to keep good tabs on everyone. But I'm impressed that it's been almost 15 minutes, and we just now got a Phil Pfister reference from you. You've been well restrained.
I have. I've been trying to be on good behavior for you.
Awesome. On the women's side, you say Hannah in the lightweights probably pushing. Middleweights. You don't have to say who you think is going to get it, but are there any kind of matchups you want to see going on the day?
There definitely is. So our ladies, our 180 class kind of dissolved. We have one lady left on our 180 class. There wasn't enough ladies in the class to get the Arnold invite, so some of them went up to heavyweight and they just kind of dispersed. But my friend Sarah Ott is in the 180s, and she's been working really hard on the block press. When she first tried it just a couple of months ago on the mini block, which is like 80 pounds empty,
mm-hmm.
she barely hit a single rep.
Okay.
Now she's hitting 100 plus for sets of 5, so she's made some tremendous progress. In the 160s, I don't think I would be insulting anyone if I said that the favorite for the block press in the 160s is Christina Bengma. I don't think anyone's going to take offense to that because she is probably the best lightweight female competitor in the world, and she's known for tremendous overhead strength.
Yeah, no, she's got good pressing power, and she's over the last 2 years consistently won more shows than anyone else. I think it's interesting to see her moving up to 160 and kind of making a run in the middleweight. I think she's got so big at 140. Gaining muscle, it'd be hard to keep going there. So that'll be interesting to see. And going into the heavyweights, what do we got going on in the heavyweights?
This is a matchup I really, really want to see here. I'm gonna actually talk about our heavyweights, our heavyweight open amateur, and I'm going to talk about our pro female here. So my friend Tiffany Drake, who has made a pretty good name for herself over the last less than like about a year and a half at this point. Tiffany, if you don't know, she was one of 7 heavyweight women at nationals that actually got reps on the log.
Mm-hmm.
All but 7 at heavyweight zeroed the log press.
Yeah,
and she got
200-pound log, roughly.
Yeah, it was reportedly 210. I don't know if that was accurate. But she was one of 7 that actually nailed that. So when we're talking about pressing power, I just wanted to give you that for reference because I saw firsthand in person, Tiffany took the current all-time women's record on the block press, which is 158 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she went ahead and loaded one up to 160 and proceeded to bang out reps with it in my driveway.
Just right out of the car kind of deal.
Oh no, she came over to hang out and train,
okay.
And because I have little get-togethers once in a while at my house,
sure.
And yeah, so that just kind of happened. It just kind of happened organically. She's like, okay, I'm just let's do this.
So we're likely
and it happened.
Yeah, we're likely to see a new record going on here.
Yeah, but here's the exciting part is we have somebody that you know pretty well. Mm-hmm. We have Jessica Thiven, pro heavyweight, coming to the contest, and she has a Mauser block, and she's been training on this Mauser block and has made some amazing videos, by the way. If you're listening to this and you have not added Jessica Fiven on your social media, you are losing at life, let me tell you.
She's fun. But obviously I've worked with Jessica for, I think, coming up on 2 years or so now, and she's made great progress. I'm definitely biased, but as far as progress goes and people, in the heavyweight side, especially now in the pro side, I think she's definitely, on the rise, and her social media game's strong. It's filthy_Fifth on Instagram, and her pressing matches it. It's equal to her memes, that's for sure.
Well, it does, and that's why I'm so excited, because Tiffany probably her strongest attribute is her overhead pressing, and when you talk about Jessica, you could probably say that her strongest, or one of her strongest attributes, is her overhead pressing.
Oh, without a doubt.
So you've got two of the best female pressers in the country, if not the world.
Yeah, coming up to set some records. Yeah, I think, it's right around 158, 106. You said 158 pounds for the record.
Right.
Got a couple. They're both doing reps with it. We'll just say, put it there. But I think it could hit. I think over 200 could happen. Right around there, which is that's a lot of weight to put over your head on a block.
Yeah, and just for reference, when people ask me, well, Paul, how did you compile, the previous records before the Mauser block came out, before that was available on the market, these events were done once in a while. There were very, like you said, there were block pressing events. They were rare. It was hard to find them.
Yeah, there was a couple times at World's Strongest Man, like Derek Poundstone just killed that medley in the qualifiers, of course. Kind of less of a block press, more of like a natural stone, the Phil Pfister, iconic run at Worlds. It was kind of that same kind of deal, but
with the women's ranks, it was so hard to find any female competitions, or any competitions that had female athletes that did a block press event. And, I was reaching out to people overseas, or, reaching out to some European folks, asked about contests over there, just spent probably way too long on the old Google machine, trying to look up contests and find where this stuff, had occurred. And, some of the very few incidences of women's block presses that I found, you're talking about like 75-pound blocks that they were using in competition.
Right.
That's how difficult this is compared to a barbell, compared to an axle, compared to a log. You're talking at least a solid 15% more difficult than a log press.
Oh, and that's conservative, I'd say.
Yeah, that's conservative, because especially if you're somebody that relies on a jerk technique, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to do a decent jerk technique with a block, because it's so hard to control. And obviously you don't want to dump a 160-pound block on your skull. So if you're somebody that uses a jerk technique, it might even be a higher percentage. It might even be a 20 or 25% more difficult press.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. Yeah, I'd say the only person I've seen jerking it is Matt LeBlanc, and I'm pretty sure he's competing on your lightweight men's side. But normal rules don't apply to Matt.
Right, Matt's not like the rest of us. No. But even his quote unquote jerk technique on that is really more of a push press, where he's using one leg to kind of catch his balance a little bit.
Sure.
And speaking of lightweight men, you've got Matt putting up, big overhead numbers, and he's training on some homemade, like some concrete blocks, and he's wrapping chains around them and just taping plates to them, which is awesome. And
yeah, and you got who else we got? We got Quint Zambon. We got a couple other good lightweights coming.
Nate Elman's in that class. Nate's a local guy. He only does one or two strongman competitions a year. He's normally more of a powerlifter, but he decided to jump in on this one. And look for him him just to be consistent, man. He's always in great shape. He's just in great all-around shape, all-around strength.
That's what it.
He's one of those guys that might grab third place on every event and get on the podium, you know?
Yeah, and I got, personal client Robert Hughes has been definitely improving steadily and he's hungry on the 175 side.
He looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
he's been he looks great from with the training videos and.
His deadlift was bothering him for a while, and he somehow pulled out a 100-pound PR with a suit a couple weeks ago. So I'm like, okay, I guess we got the deadlift. Now he's pulling over 6, which is you're competent if you're pulling over 6 in the 175 class, and we're kind of looking to pull try to get it without a suit now because I think you got it's a max deadlift without a suit. So you got Arnold invites. On the lightweight women's side, heavyweight women's side, lightweight men. Do the other men's class have the Arnold invites as well? I know you're trying to get all the numbers to get them on the women's side, but I don't know if on the men's side.
Yeah, so for this, the way that they changed it, so...
you need 5-6 athletes?
Yeah, so at Nationals last year, Dion made the announcement that they were changing how all of this worked for Plat Plus and for Arnold qualification. So it used to be before November of last year, it was a contest would only have 1 or 2 classes they could give out Arnold invites in, and those classes had to have 15 people. Well, that wasn't working for anybody.
Yeah,
nobody was drawing those kind of numbers. It's hard to get 15 people in a single class.
Sure, outside of a Nationals or something.
Yeah, outside of Nationals, and especially for a contest that's required, because a Plat Plus is required to be heavy. It's there's a lot that goes along with it. You're not allowed to book a Plat Plus contest and then go, oh yeah, the weights are going to be moderate and reasonable. No. It's got to be heavy stuff, and it's hard to draw. It's hard to draw big rosters for heavy contests.
Yeah, they take a lot to train for.
Yeah. So Strongman Corp, Dion and Pat and the rest of the gang and the Arnold committee got together, decided to change all that. So you need 5 people in a class, and you can offer Arnold invites in every class, including the subclasses. So like the men's 200, the ladies 160, those subclasses of the overall. So we have Arnold invites in every single class and subclass except the ladies 180 and the ladies 120. Okay. Those are the only ones we couldn't fill. So your men's 175. Yeah.
I'm not surprised on the 120 side, but I figure there's usually more participation with the 180. But who knows?
That's the one that shocked me too. I was actually surprised that we didn't get that one. But I was also surprised that we did get some of the other ones.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, because so you got, 8 or so Arnold invites up for grabs? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 8 or 9, something like that. It's pretty wild.
I'd say that's more surprising.
I'm a bit of a nerd.
Than not getting it in the others.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a nerd on numbers and stuff. I like to analyze, these contests from a promoter standpoint. And one thing that I'm real happy with is one of the stats is that this is the most Arnold invites given out at any Plat Plus this year, or maybe it's tied for first. It's either first or tied for first for the most Arnold invites of any contest this year. So I'm super pumped about that.
Yeah, no, that's a great job promoting. Could you run down what the events are real quick and
Absolutely.
So we got a block press. We got a max deadlift.
Yeah, max deadlift. And, everybody loves dead. Everybody likes to pull a heavy deadlift. So that's for national records. Then we have the Hercules hold, and this Hercules hold is extra difficult because it has a revolving handle. That changes the game a little bit.
Sure.
Then we have a pretty cool farmer's walk medley event where you have to carry the farmer's walk, drop them. You'll run over to a yoke area and toss a keg over the yoke bar. You'll run back to your farmer's walk, which are now heavier, and carry them back to the start line. So while you're loading that keg over the bar, our staff is tossing extra plates on your farmer's handle.
It's just kind of mean.
And yeah, it is. They're top loading, the top loading style farmer's handles. All they got to do is toss a plate on real quick, and then you're good to go. So that happens really fast. While the competitors running over loading their keg, the helpers are right there with plates in their hands. Boom, they toss the weights on, load the keg if you can, come back over, carry them bad boys back to the start line.
Yeah, I really like events like that because it makes it less of the you beat me or when there's 0.3 of a second separating 5 competitors kind of deal, and that's definitely a creative way to do it. And it also, there's a lot of strategy involved because do you trust your grip enough? Because when you're first setting up for farmers, you can really set your grip nice and tight and get in. But when you're running back, you're just going to want to a lot of people are going to be tempted to just slap their hands on there, and just pick it up and go, like kind of in motion. So if you have a better grip, you might be able to do it. And that's a gamble you might have to take. And you're going to see a couple people for sure losing it halfway down the line. Because they didn't set, and then there's someone who was a little bit more patient who ends up winning. That kind of stuff happens all the time, and that's part of those are the kind of events I like for those reasons. You got to be smart about it.
Agreed, and I really like your analysis of that. For going from that keg back to the farmer's handles, that event could be won.
Yeah, just on strategy alone. Yeah. Then you have another. What are the other events going on?
Our last event, so we got 5 events total, and our the last event we'll talk about here is the block carry for max distance.
Another fun one.
And that one is interesting. Of course, you think like a Husafell carry, but the block is actually a harder pick than Husafell, sure. And it is going to be it does start on the ground. So.
Yeah, you kind of have to
row it. The pick on the
it.
block is so tough because it's so low to the ground. It's basically sitting on the ground, so it's like a deficit pull to get that thing up into your lap.
Yeah, no, that's a tough one. And if anyone wants to follow along this contest, you got a live stream going? You got updates? So where can they find out what's going on or when the results come out?
Absolutely. The live stream is going to be at Viking Performance Training's Facebook page.
Awesome.
So just go to the Viking Performance Training Facebook page. Noon Eastern time is when it kicks off. And we'll probably run, I'm estimating this is probably going to be in the neighborhood of about a 6, maybe 6.5 hour contest.
Yeah, nice and efficient, but a lot going on. I'm definitely going to be trying to tune in. I'll try to share those on Starting Strongman pages, so yeah, just check out Viking Performance on Facebook. Give it a like. You can sign up where it gives you notifications when there's live videos. I always try to do that when people have contests coming on, because a lot of time you have to do separate videos for each event. It's just how it works out best, I've found, for doing that type of streaming. So check that out, and of course, mauserstrength.com. Anything else?
Man, we covered a lot of ground there. I'm just, I'm really excited to get this. I'm excited to get to Saturday, man. That's all I can tell you. We have the following day. We do have Brooke Souza in the house. Awesome. Recently won the Strongest Woman in the World competition, and she's going to be doing a seminar for us, specifically covering the conjugate method that she uses with Matt Winning up there at Ludus Magnus in Ohio. And there are still spots available to get into that seminar, which will be this Sunday.
Awesome. This is all going on at Viking Performance in Morgantown, West Virginia.
Right. The contest itself is going to be at Palatine Park, which is about 20 minutes from the gym. And the seminar is going to be at Viking Performance Training.
Awesome. Well, good luck. So we can, I'm sure, running a contest like this, you got a lot going on, so I won't take any more of your time. It was great talking to you. And, let's hopefully got some block press records and other stuff that I can update on the records on startingstrongman.com when this is all over. So I got some content to push out there on Monday.
Absolutely, man. And hey, we got to get you and Obers back out to West Virginia again sometime.
I know. We had so much fun the last time.
and the gym is about 4 times as big as it was when you were here before. So
Yeah, it's definitely
we got all kinds of new.
Yeah, I think maybe spring next year we'll definitely chat. I'll hit up Jerry. We'll see if we can get that going on because it's definitely long overdue. Love to come back out.
Absolutely, man. Would love to make that happen. So.
Awesome.
And I appreciate you having me on and talking to me and letting me run my mouth for a while. Most appreciated, man.
Anytime. Good luck with the contest, and we'll catch you later. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Of course, again, check that out. Viking Performance on Facebook for the live stream. Moser Strength. Mauserstrength.com for information on the block, this contest. Always has fun contests going on. And thanks for talking, Paul.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.